The main character Kyle in reality was a student, but in the game he was the one who wants to cleanse the knights of meanness. He was smart, fearless, sensitive, had good intuition, was inclined to analyze what was happening, and was a two-faced guy. Christy was sympathetic but doesn't show it, flirty but doesn't admit it, sentimental, afraid of people, loves to eat meat and has a high attack speed. Olivia had a good imagination. She is a noble and unbending goddess of battles who shares the body with a sadist. She was a princess who became the king of the hunt, strong in close combat and idle chatter. Knights are eager to marry princesses, but for this, as a rule, you need to sacrifice something. A tied-up girl was hanging by the rock. Her body was wrapped in chains and her dress was torn to shreds. At that moment, a guy was fighting a dragon right in front of the girl. The young man rose up and was about to use magic, which was accompanied by a golden flash of light. The golden light changes to blue. Now it is ice magic called the Curse of Ice. The guy formed a magic circle around himself from swords that turned into ice stakes. With this magical ability, the guy attacked the white dragon, covering its body with ice. The young man continued to attack the huge white dragon with his ice magic, and the captive, chained, noted that the young man was very strong. The girl also dreamily thought about the beauty of the young warrior. From this thought she blushed embarrassedly. But the stranger immediately brushed aside these embarrassing thoughts. She called the knight to pay attention to her. The princess told the guy that she would like to know why the young man goes to such extremes. It is not bad, but still she sympathized with this painstaking effort. The princess promised the greatest reward for the knight. She said that it would belong to the knight. If he wished, he would be given the incredible favor of kissing the toes of this princess of the Icelandic Empire, Olivia. But the young man decided that he would probably refuse such a thing. These stained white stockings with holes do not inspire confidence. Olivia was indignant at this. She asked the guy what he said and said that he was pretending to be modest. The princess added that men are all the same, and the young man came here precisely for this reason. The knight asked the girl with a grin whether she thought that the guy came here for her sake. The young man added that how can one put the local non-player character and him on the same level. The guy explained that the purpose of his coming from the very beginning to the end was only this dragon. With these words, the knight pointed his finger at the white monster encased in ice. But then the dragon roared in embarrassment. The young man asked the monster why he blushed. The young man repeated that marrying the princess was not part of his plans. The guy said that this part of the game, the essence of which was defeating the dragon, was more exciting. With these words, the knight raised his sword upward, the icy power illuminated by blue light spreading a long distance upward. The huge white dragon excitedly watched the guy's actions. The young man dealt a crushing blow to his enemy with all his strength and might. The action returns to the classroom. The boy was happy about winning the game. But the student did all this in class. That's why he got hit on the head with a notebook. The teacher said that the young man wanted to get another grade. The teacher added that the guy has no head on his shoulders. If he were in the guy's place, he wouldn't waste his brain on stupid video games. The teacher asked the guy to pay attention to his semester grades. His parents must be going crazy with worry. Others are now cultivating to buy a mansion for their elders. The teacher added that the guy with his in-game currency is not able to buy anything for himself in the real world. The man was about to swing the notebook again, but he was stopped by the student's hand. The guy said it could wait until he was done. The teacher lost his temper completely. He loudly shouted Kyle's name. The man added that his video games would destroy the guy. And with these words he hit the young man on the head with his notebook as hard as he could. But as soon as Kyle touched his forehead to the tablet screen, it suddenly lit up with a blue light. The young man instantly merged with his character from the digital dimension. Kyle was perplexed by what happened for some time. The guy wondered what happened. He was transported to the game world, after which the young man realizes that he cannot control his body. Kyle flew straight down onto the head of the very dragon he had just fought with on the tablet. The young man falls face first into the monster's face. At this moment, the guy's sword cuts the chain on which the princess was hanging. The girl immediately falls to the ground, hitting herself. Then she notices that the knight's lips are pressed to the lips of a huge white monster. The guy screamed that he couldn't move, and the dragon himself turned red with embarrassment. Olivia decided that Kyle was turned on by dragons, but the young man denied it as best he could. The princess apologized to the knight for disturbing him. The girl wished the guy all the best and ran away, but Kyle shouted after her to stop and give him a chance to explain himself. But at that moment, behind the guy's back there was a ferocious monster, which was clearly hostile towards the knight. And then the beast spews fiery flames at Kyle. The young man, completely charred, falls unconscious. The guy is starting to realize how screwed he is now. Lying on the ground without the strength to fight, the knight realizes that he is about to die in this game. Kyle closed his eyes hopelessly and prepared for the worst. Suddenly, instead of dying, the young man realized that a girl was talking to him. She said that it was disgusting because the guy took her first kiss. The guy opened his eyes and noticed a girl's leg in black stockings in front of his face. The stranger said that she had to transform into a woman. Kyle lay there admiring it, the girl's foot resting on his face. The girl was unhappy with the weight of her large bust. The young man could hardly believe that it was an evil dragon, because a magnificent girl stood in front of him. But the dragon lady immediately hit the guy in the face with her tail. Kyle was indignant, because he laughed only once, and received several blows at once. But the girl called even a tiny laugh disgusting and said that the knight was facing a spanking. The young man's face became irritated. He grabbed the dragon by the tail and asked who she took him for. From such a grip on the tail, the girl sighed awkwardly. Something strange began to happen to her. The knight asked her what had happened. The dragon lady got all red. She called the guy a disgusting loser and asked him how he found out. The girl pointed to her tail and explained that this is the place that touches excite the girl the most. The guy looked at her tail in his hand. After the forehead, the young man grabbed the very tip of the tail, which was in the shape of a heart. The dragon screamed and ordered Kyle to stop touching him. The knight, grinning maliciously, asked the girl where her courage had gone, and in fact, even the evil dragon could not resist him. The lady called the young man a lousy pig and threatened that the guy would pay for this. But the knight was not at all afraid of the dragon's threats. Suddenly a crowd of people appeared in the cave. One of them said that he was informed that Kyle was able to defeat the evil dragon. The guy is worried that there are more and more people. The young man decides that this won't work. The girl's tail looks too provocative. At that moment the dragon complained that her tail was already hurting. Kyle decides to hide the girl's tail. The young man is considering how best to do this. The knight tells the girl not to run away and tries to hide her tail in the lady's underwear. One of the knights addressed Kyle as Your Highness. He said that the young man was saved, and the king ordered them to take the guy. But the men found the guy and the girl in an ambiguous position. The lady asked not to squeeze so hard, and the young man told her to either tense up or relax. The knights perceived this scene as shameful. Kyle heard the knight's words and turned to face them. The man turned to the worthy knight and told him that he had violated their innocent princess, like a wild beast in this dark and damp dragon cave. But then the men added that the guy should not think about them and continue in the same spirit. But Kyle considered them assholes. But then the guy thought about the content of the man's words. The young man asked the knight that he had just called her a princess. The man agreed, but asked the guy if he wasn't going to say that it wasn't her. Kyle asked him to stop asking stupid questions. He didn't believe that the knights seriously didn't know what the princess of their kingdom looked like. The knight tried to argue that he had seen the girl once, but that was just before she was kidnapped by the evil dragon, when she was still a child. The man noted that after a personal meeting, it seemed to him that the princess had become even more attractive. The girl was embarrassed by these words, and Kyle told him what he was pestering about. The knight reminded that the king was still waiting for the prince and princess, and therefore asked him to go with them. Kyle clarified that he was like a prince. The man replied that that's exactly what he called the guy Your Highness. The knight told the guy that he was the one who saved their princess. The man added that the kingdom would give the young man everything he wanted, not even talking about his coronation. From these words the young man blurred in his dreams. But then a girl intervened in the conversation. She said that she did not want to be a princess. The young man did not let her finish the sentence, and covered his mouth with his hand. The knights did not understand what the guy wanted to do. Kyle said that the princess told him that she was terribly hungry, so he should hurry. The guy and the girl, accompanied by knights, went to the king's castle. Along the way, the young man reasoned that he was unlucky in the real world, and so it was here, in this one. Kyle carefully told the dragon that she had better cooperate with him. The guy added that otherwise he could do this, and the girl would fall into a web of pleasure. With these words the young man took out the lady's tail and squeezed it. The dragon called the knight a vile pig and added that even if he threatens her, she will never listen to him. Some time later in the royal dining room, the maid told Your Highness that all this was prepared for him. The girl liked being a princess. she noted the breathtaking smell of the dishes. The king cried. He told his daughter Olivia that she was only 10 when it happened, and he was glad that she returned home. The queen carefully informed her husband that, as far as she remembered, their daughter had dark hair. But the king said that this was not at all important, and asked his wife why she was worried about these little things on such a beautiful day. Prince Lucky told the queen to rest and noted that the younger sister had grown so much. Lucky added that in the end, if the queen left it like that, then they would have everything they wanted. The queen answered her son that since he said so, then she could rest easy. Kyle sat and watched what was happening. He did not understand what was happening to this family. But suddenly the maid made a remark to the princess. The maid said that since Olivia was a princess, she must be elegant and refined, and invited the girl to use a knife and fork, saying that this would not make the chicken any less tasty. The maid handed the girl a knife, but she looked at it skeptically. Then she threw the whole chicken into her mouth, which shocked the maid. Both the king and queen and Kyle were amazed, and Olivia then simply took the chicken bones out of her mouth. The parents noted this behavior was terrible. They did not understand how Olivia could behave like this. She even ate the bones. The queen recalled that she had been a slob before. Kyle was amazed that parents remembered such a little thing, but did not remember their daughter's face. Suddenly someone knocked down the doors to the dining room. Everyone present in the hall turned towards the uproar. The girl who entered said that Olivia was not a princess, she was just an impostor. The young man remembered this girl, she was hanging chained. The brunette rushed up to the table and put her foot on it. The girl turned to the king and told him to hear her, she is the real Olivia. The guy considered the girl a local savage. Meanwhile the white-haired woman continued to gobble up food as if nothing had happened. The king thought about it, because a small problem arose. Now they have 2 Olivias, and it is not known which of them was the princess. The man offered to draw straws, but the brunette screamed at him. How dare he say such a thing, and called him an old fart. The girl told the king that he was a fool. How could he not recognize his own daughter, and added that even a pig was more reliable than him. The brunette shouted that this princess was not going to talk to such a bad person like the king. The enraged girl continued to shake the man by the collar, shout insults at him, and then completely pushed the king away. The man was indignant. He noted the girl's actions as vulgar. The brunette continued to insult the king, but suddenly the man and his wife noted this indecent tone and terrible manner of their friend. The parents realized that without a doubt this was their daughter Olivia. Kyle was shocked by such family relationships. The young man decided to carefully leave the castle from these inadequate ones while they were distracted, but then they shouted to him to stand and launched a sword in his direction. The guy was informed that he had committed a terrible sin by passing off this girl as his highness, and was still thinking of running away. The real Olivia ordered the young man to turn around so she could look at the face of this daredevil. Kyle turns to Olivia and says hello. The brunette immediately recognizes him as a knight who is fighting a dragon. The girl announced to everyone that he was a pervert who kissed the dragon in the cave, but the guy said that the princess misunderstood everything. The king called the young man a naughty man. The queen noted that the guy was skillful, since he could play around with the dragon lady. The prince said that this idiot was lucky, but Kyle himself asked what Olivia's family was thinking about. The brunette enthusiastically said that it was difficult for her to get the picture of the kiss of a dragon and a young man out of her head. It was firmly rooted in her heart. The guy seduced the dragon girl and abandoned her, but the young man himself asked the princess to calm down and return to reality. Olivia said that the guy was having an affair with that rude pig who pretended to be a princess. The girl pointed her finger at the white-haired one, who continued to eat everything from the table as if nothing was happening. The brunette ran up to the dragon and knocked a piece of bacon out of her hands with the words that the white-haired one should stop eating her food. The young man tried to warn the princess about the danger. Olivia called the dragon insultingly, and the lady's face noticeably changed. When the princess said that the impostor was unnecessary, the dragon girl spewed fire at her. The young man did not have time to warn the brunette about this. She was already standing all charred from the fire. After this fiery attack from the impostor, Olivia became even more furious. She called the couple lousy, and then continued to hurl insults. The brunette then ordered the guards to send the 2 of them naked through the streets. Kyle said that there was no need to do this, because the girl was hurt by the white-haired fire, and the guy had nothing to do with it. The dragon said that the young man was to blame. If not for his threats, the girl would not have been here. The young man called the lady good for nothing. she can only fill her belly. Suddenly one of the guards rushed up to them. He rose up and swung an axe at the guy. The axe landed nearby and broke the floor slabs. The young man barely had time to dodge such an attack. The man's fierce gaze frightened the young man. He pulled out his huge axe. The guard swings at the guy again and shouts at him to get him. Kyle understands that the knights are not going to hold back. Swords, spears, and axes are flying at the guy. The young man says that he played this game for fun, and not to die in it. The young man decides that if they do this to him, then he won't hold back either. In an instant, the guy was able to summon a golden sword. The young man enters into battle against the guards. Now he too was armed. The same guard with the axe was now terrified by the powerful aura that washed over him. He was afraid that he would die. But then suddenly the sword forked and bent. The knights looked in bewilderment at the fragment of the newly majestic golden sword. The sword gradually began to disappear. The young man realized that this was a mistake in the game. Suddenly, holograms of letters began to appear in front of him. Kyle wondered what they were. The inscription said that the guy was disqualified. Olivia laughed and called the guy a dog, and added that all the young man could do was run away. A hologram inscription appeared above the brunette stating that the girl was a righteous non-player character. The princess said that the young man overestimates his importance. The young man thought that this was NPC justice. The brunette snatched the sword from the knight's hands and shouted to Kyle that this was it. The guy did not understand what kind of world this was, but the girl explained that this, of course, was a world of divine justice. The princess swung her sword until Kyle fell, and the girl swung again and accused the young man of deceiving the pure innocent feelings of the dragon girl. The brunette pressed her shoe into the guy's groin, and he winced in pain. Olivia raised her sword over the young man, saying that this princess's sword would take one swing to finish him off. But then the dragon can't stand it and attacks the princess. She says that Olivia is annoying, she's put up with this for too long. Then the dragon lady grabs the young man's head and presses it to her chest. White Hair says she was compared to that pig, but Kyle was just food that fell on her. Meanwhile, the royal family had mixed reactions to the girl. The king thought it was incredible that she was a dragon, the queen was bored, and the prince wanted to be pinned like that. The only normal reaction was that of the guards, who were terrified and shouted that she was an evil dragon. This is the same evil dragon from Evil Dragon Gorge. Meanwhile, the golden-haired beauty was sleeping in the sleeping quarters. It was the priestess of the Holy Lands, Kelly, who abruptly jumped out of bed. Suddenly Countess Lisa entered the bedroom. The girl asked Her Highness if she was having a nightmare again. Kelly asked the Countess why she came. Countess of the Golden Lands, Lisa brought news from the Islamic land. This concerns that dragon. It seemed to Lisa that the priestess was really afraid of the evil dragon. The Countess asked permission to accompany Kelly to her bed tonight. In the morning the priestess slept peacefully. At this time, some girl told Lisa that with all due respect to the Countess, she forced her subordinate to do a rather difficult job of collecting information, while she herself hid here and spent the nights with the queen. The blonde thought it was all unfair. The Countess said that nothing could be done. After everything, keeping an eye on Her Holiness sounded like a vacation that was part of her duties as a countess. Lisa asked Lise if she would be jealous. The blonde answered without hesitation that she would never. The Countess asked the girl with the ears to give her the information that she had collected for her, and could be free. But the blonde objected. She said that if Lisa wants her to tell everything, then let her add sincerity to her words. The Countess asked about the words about sincerity. At the same moment, Lisa took out a sheet of paper from the neckline of the blonde's dress, and she noted the Countess's cruelty. The Countess asked Louise if this is not what the girl wanted. She always asks people to pay at least a little attention to her breasts. The blonde said that she had been exposed. Lisa asked the girl with annoyance, "This is the knight who saved the princess from the dragon." The lady thought about how much power this woman has in her hands. The Countess noticed that the young man looked like a pervert. Meanwhile, a fight broke out between the dragon girl and the princess. The young man understood that this could end badly, so he hoped not to see this happen. The white-haired one summoned a fiery kitten, after which the girl cast a spell of evil dragon magic. A powerful fiery attack struck the princess with its strength and power. The girl did not expect that the dragon lady was so strong. The brunette shouted to the white-haired one that she was a real dragon, and she shouldn't dare lie to her that she wasn't. With that, Olivia yanked the rope and released a fiery bomb blast. At this moment, the guards noted that the princess was armed. One asked the second if they needed to stop them, but the second said that the first should not be such a moron. The dragon defended herself from cannonballs with her wings. The girl said that it was hot and so calming. The princess was in shock. She clearly did not expect such a reaction from her attack. The brunette began to shoot even harder, asking how she could do this. But the white-haired one only liked this. Kyle stood and reflected that the smell of barely dressed girls mixed with the smell of gunpowder really made him addicted. Prince Lucky ordered everyone to look at this noble knight. He was staring at the fighting ladies, which is very low, and how can one so shamelessly look at the body of his beloved sister? But Kyle said that it was not right for two animals to tell him about this, to which the king and son said that they were so big. The young man thought that it was so annoying. If not for his shaking legs, he would have left here long ago. The young man was angry about the rule that prohibited disqualified players from hitting non-player characters. This angered the young man. Kyle thought that everything had been going wrong ever since that kiss with the dragon. But then the young man thought that this was better than marrying this sadistic princess, as the plot required, while Olivia shouted to her rival whether she was having a good time. If so, then she simply had to give it to her. The dragon told the princess to stop because she couldn't stand it anymore if she continued. Kyle thought that no matter how you look at it, the dragon has a feminine appeal. The young man suddenly noticed the white-haired girl looking at him. He ran up to her to ask how the girl was feeling. The dragon grabs the guy by the collar, clings to him and says that she can't do it anymore. This lust can lead her to sin. The knight did not quite understand the meaning of her words. The white-haired girl embarrassedly says that she wants to give in to her. But the young man got angry and asked if she deliberately turns him on with her flirting. After which the dragon lady told the guy to hold on, and the girl would go to soak in the magma. Kyle grabbed the girl's leg and asked her to be patient. Isn't he her food? The white-haired girl asked if the young man really thought that he could come to an agreement with this princess. Olivia said that first of all, the dragon was a fake princess, and hurt the feelings of this princess. Even now she was the hero of this drama that was unfolding before their eyes, so they must die, torn into pieces by this princess. The young man wondered where the princess got such a big bomb. He asked if she didn't come up with all this. The brunette said that they should die. The bomb itself, when a large shell was shoved into it, thought it would break. The knights commented that the princess was somehow going to push something that big in, and then Olivia fires a huge bomb at her enemies. Kyle activates the thunder sword. Real lightning strikes the royal palace. The guy forms a thunder barrier. A quick defense, reminiscent of a quick defense, appears in front of the young man and the white-haired woman. The barrier was perfectly able to hold back the princess's blow. The bomb exploded on the other side of the net, hitting neither the guy nor the dragon. The brunette felt a shock wave of fire from her weapon. The lady wondered if it had landed. The young man confirmed his guesses. Even if his attacks do not go through, he can still defend himself. The king said that he did not talk about it. Prince Lucky said that Kyle did not receive the slightest damage. The young man was glad that he was able to bypass the prohibitions of the game in this way. But then the young man noticed something strange. The lightning caused by Kyle first broke through the ceiling and hit the floor, destroying it. The guy didn't understand what was happening. Everything suddenly began to collapse. The white-haired girl called the young man a fool because he destroyed the floor, and Kyle said, "So this is the quality of the floor." A blue hologram screen appeared in the sky with the inscription that "Now you are cursing me, you are killing me." Kyle shouted that it was a sneaky attack, asked the system if it was allowed to do this, and called it dirt under his shoes, which represented nothing. Finally, the guy added that he wouldn't dare face him and called him a clown, and the young man himself was preparing to fall face down. But suddenly the young man lands on the back of a huge white dragon. The monster says that she didn't want to save the guy, he just landed on her. The guards and the princess carefully approached the broken floor to look at those who had fallen down. But then, at full speed, the dragon flew out of the broken roof of the castle and flew away. The dragon soared into the air above the dilapidated castle, its wings sparkling in the moonlight. The royal family panicked. The king held his head, because his castle was collapsing before his eyes. The guard shouted to Her Highness the Princess that the enemies were leaving and asked what they should do. The brunette told the knight to shut up and follow her. Kyle breathed a sigh of relief. He was glad that they wouldn't be caught here. He held tightly onto the white monster's neck. The guy praised the white-haired girl for being able to fly, but the dragon reported that she could not fly since childhood. The young man asked what they thought they were doing then, and the girl replied that she didn't know. After these words, the two flew down to the ground. Kyle asked the dragon to fly and not stop, But the monster said what use was the guy's advice to her. They land in a barn in a small settlement. A guy and a girl fall straight into haystacks, with cows standing around them. The cows, in their own language, were puzzled as to who it was. The calf told his mother that the stranger had more than she did. Then the guy came to his senses. It turned out that he was lying on the body of Christy, who again turned into a girl. She was without clothes, only covered with hay. The young man said that he would do this for her sake. Kyle rushes towards the white-haired girl, but she screams and dodges. But suddenly someone threw it behind the guy's back. Someone's voice was heard. He said that isn't it written on the doors that they are closed on Sundays. The unknown woman continued that the young man came here with someone unusual. The girl was familiar with the taste of wolf, bear, and lion milk. Then the stranger herself appeared. She was a very pretty girl in a cow costume. Kyle was embarrassed at the sight of the lady, and blood began to flow from his nose. The unknown woman said that she had never tried dragon's milk. The young man tried to apologize. He said that they were very sorry. The guy explained that they were not here for sale. They were just passing by. A lady in a cow costume shouted at the young man, called him ungrateful, and threw an axe at him, almost in the guy's face. This action plunged the knight into fear and horror. His face turned pale and covered with sweat. The blonde said that they were really going to refuse the favor of the powerful merchant of the Islamic Empire. Did they think that they had 9 lives left? Kyle objected. What nonsense is this? How can an imperial merchant sit in a stable? The girl explained that this was because she slept through the imperial business exam. But judging by her trading performance, becoming an imperial merchant was not far off. The guy told her that she was just a loser who couldn't get out of bed on time. The lady in the cow costume told the guy to shut up. The girl added that it doesn't matter. In any case, the young man will sell her this dragon today. In the meantime, the white-haired woman made straw clothes for herself. The blonde said that according to legend, it is fashionable to domesticate an evil dragon. If she stays, then in theory she will be able to give milk. The stranger added that in this case, the Imperial Commerce College would make an exception for her, despite the previous mistake. Suddenly, the dragon's tail hit the girl, who was deep in her daydreaming. The dragon was furious at the merchant's words. She seemed to look at a stranger, but the blonde cried because the white-haired one hit her. The dragon lady said that with what the merchant would do to her for this, for the first time in her life she was humiliated by a herbivore. Kyle realized that the lady in the cow costume was so cool in words, but such a wimp in practice. The blonde asked the dragon to stop because she was in pain, but the girl said that it was too late. Let him taste his own milk. The guy noted that, nevertheless, the scene before his eyes was very good. Then the brunette's voice was heard. She announced that Her Highness was here. The young man was perplexed at how quickly they were found. The knight told Olivia that they had landed somewhere here. The young man was carefully watching the princess's retinue from the stable. The brunette orders the knights to search everything here. The man obediently agrees. The knights began to ask the cows if they had seen a girl in rags instead of clothes and a strange man. Olivia called the knight a fool and asked what he expected to hear from the calf. The princess suggests asking his mother, because there is no need to embarrass the child. The man notices that Her Highness is really wise. Prince Lucky is indignant at this. Kyle and Christy called them fools. The young man dreamed that if only this was a harem game, there would be hundreds of non-player characters with magnificent appearance and proud character. The blonde watched in admiration the members of the royal family of the Islamic Empire. The girl in the cow costume said, "Just look at this noble and majestic aura. Look at how these flags sparkle in the sun." The merchant wonders if this is the recently appeared goddess of war. The blonde screams at Olivia that these two nobodies are here. But at the same moment, Christy tied the mouth of the lady in the cow costume. Kyle told the girl to shut up because she was causing them too much trouble when she opened her mouth. The white-haired girl told the blonde not to take her for a fool, and called her an insignificant animal. The guy collapsed the unknown naughty cow and grabbed it by the tip of its tail. The lady in the cow costume sighed at this action. The blonde experienced such weakness and awkwardness, and the young man said that the girl needed to be punished. The white-haired girl thought that this was such a sneaky trick. Now he is doing it more intensely than with her last time. Kyle grinned. As he expected, the weakness of all girl monsters was their tail. Meanwhile, Christy imagined if the guy did the same to her. The young man continued to torment the cowgirl's tail. With his other hand he held the blonde by the waist. The merchant could not speak, since her mouth was tied by the white-haired tail. Christy dreamed that if she were in the place of the lady in the cow costume, she would also be pleased. But then suddenly the blonde began to leak. The white-haired woman wondered if the cow had really awakened in her an attraction that she had not felt before. The blonde called the guy a beast and told him how he dared to do such obscene things on the holy Islamic land, and added that the goddess of war would definitely not let her go. The young man took the girl by the cheeks and asked, "Does the cow want to say that after they leave, she will report this to the princess?" Kyle said that now he could only. The cow thought that this man was suddenly becoming so scary. The blonde decided that the guy wanted to kill her, but the young man said that he decided to take her with him, and with these words he threw the lady over his shoulder. But in his mind, Kyle joked that he just wanted to take the mulatto into his collection. Christie said that if there is no other choice, then so be it. The young man was surprised that the dragon just agreed and agreed. The white-haired girl thought that after all these graders with the tail, the guy allows the cow to go with them. The girl did not want to tolerate this. Christie asked where they were going. Kyle replied that there was a small forest behind them. First they would hide there. The hostage reasoned that these two really didn't think of killing her to keep her silent. The cow decided that they were not so bad. Meanwhile, 3 travelers had already entered the forest. Kyle said that the cow was a little heavy. The lady was indignant at these words. Christie said that she wanted to eat and looked at the blonde, and then suggested that she could eat her. The young man noted that this idea was good, but the blonde decided that these two were not good people after all. Meanwhile, the brunette, tired from the search, decided to drink a glass of milk, after which the princess furiously throws the empty glass and shouts that she hates them because they ran away again. Olivia says that the crowd of knights cannot catch the two and calls them useless. The men apologize to Her Highness and ask the girl that since she drank milk, she should calm down. Prince Lucky asks his beloved sister not to worry. If you look aimlessly, you won't find it. But Olivia tells the prince that he has nothing but his stupid brain, filled to the brim with rotten garbage, because such incapable garbage has no right to open his mouth. Lucky replies that even though he is inept in many ways, he has no equal in understanding women. The prince adds that right now, for example, he can hear the smell of female hormone secretion in the air. Then the brother corrects himself and says that even 2 individuals, his sister and the knights, are shocked by Lucky's words. The prince tells his beloved sister that they presumably went towards the depths of the forest. Lucky adds that if they go there immediately, they will have time to catch up. Olivia muttered dissatisfiedly that she thought that her brother would not lie to her. The Grand Princess says she will catch the fugitives and return. But the knights tell His Highness that this is a bad idea. The thick of the forest is on the border of the country. Rumors say that a bunch of terrible monsters live there. Lucky tells them that it's enough. As long as there is a prince, everything will be fine. The prince tells the men that if they are afraid, then they should stay here and wait for their return. The knights answer that it's good, then they will stay here and wish Lucky a good journey. The guy clearly did not expect such an answer. The prince caught up with his sister Olivia, who mentally told the knight that he would not leave her, and Lucky mentally told his beloved sister that she would not run away from him. Some time later, Christie accosts the guy, calling him a stinking pig and saying that she is hungry. Kyle, lying nearby, replies that he knows. The white-haired woman asks how this happened. If she knew that this would happen, she would not have sent the cow for food. But at that moment the blonde returned with food. The lady in the cow costume said she only found fruit, after which the girl took 1 apple and said they are very sweet. The cow handed an apple to her comrades, but the white-haired woman stubbornly demanded meat. The lady in a cow costume asked if fruit wouldn't suit her. They were also very tasty. Christie called it nonsense, and added that only lower animals could eat such pitiful food. The cow noted that this was too much, and Kyle, meanwhile, was wondering where her cute tail was growing from, because last time he couldn't see it. The blonde was indignant that she, therefore, walked and looked for food with all her might, and the white-haired one belittles her. The lady in a cow costume adds that if Christie is so smart, then let her look for it herself. It's better than being offended by an innocent cow. The girl added that, of course, what does she care about the white-haired one? She does not deserve to be her slave. The blonde said that she received many injuries while looking for this food. The lady in the cow costume took off her shoes to cool her wound. But then Christie smelled the delicious smell of beef and asked to take a bite. And with these words the girl grabbed the cow's leg. But the blonde told her to fuck off and called her a pervert. Kyle looked at all this and asked if they wanted to fight again. The young man suggested that the girls let each other go, and it was better to go to him. The dragon girl objected and said that the guy dares to put forward some conditions. The cow offers help to the white-haired one, after which the girls simultaneously hit the guy in the face. The young man falls into the grass. He said that this is not the kind of trick he had in mind. Christy said that the guy thinks that she does not understand that he ran out to be beaten instead of her. The dragon said that Kyle was simply trying to give her the cow, but in fact that was not what the young man meant. The white-haired girl said that she and the guy did so much together, but he apparently made a choice. The young man began to deny. He said that, to be honest, he even admired the girl a little, and asked if it was true. The guy replied that, of course, yes. Christy asked if Kyle was allowed to join what happened earlier. The young man wondered what to join and where. The white-haired girl explains what the guy wanted to do with that cow, and the girl clarified whether she had to talk about it in such detail. These words made steam come out of the young man's ears. He couldn't even think that the girl really thought about what he was thinking. The dragon said that he really only had to do a little, and she would be satisfied. Kyle noted the white-haired woman's bad character. He said that, in truth, he would allow her more, because he doesn't mind either. Christy was delighted at the guy's words. She said what the young man hadn't said before and took one horn out of her head. The dragon thought that the young man wanted to eat the cow alone. The girl asked for her brain, and with these words she rushed at the blonde to stab her with her horn. Kyle was shocked as white hair took the thing off her head. Then the guy realized that this was not what he wanted to say. The young man explains that he didn't say that he wanted to eat a lady in a cow costume. That's not what he meant. Christy asked what the guy was asking her to join. The blonde asked not to eat her, called the dragon bad and cursed her. Christy noted this curse as evil, and Kyle said that it was not for her to tell others about evil. The cow began to scream and call people for help. The white-haired one noted that the girl was noisy. She loved it when her prey screamed and squealed before death, because no one would save her. But then a voice was heard from the forest, which said that there was no need to think that if there was no one, then she could do whatever she wanted. Another voice told someone not to let the vile bastard come near her. The girls found this creepy. The guy asked the girls not to make noise and covered Christy's mouth with his hand. 3 travelers crept up to the bushes to assess the situation. The cow recognized the goddess of war. Olivia realized that Lucky had been hiding his abilities all this time. The prince asked his sister not to waste her strength. Lucky added that this is not the imperial palace, he cannot order her. The princess asked her brother that he did not bring her here for the sake of capturing the knight. He brought her by deception and did not say why. Lucky called his little sister stupid and asked what was so exciting about chasing fugitives. The prince explained that he took her with him, of course, in order to show her some really nice things. The brunette screamed at her brother that he was trash and told him not to come near. Lucky asked again and said that his sister suddenly called him by the most hated nickname, Trash. My brother almost forgot how Olivia looked down on him from a young age. Every time she saw him she pretended to see a dirty cockroach. The prince said that no matter how hard he tried to gain her favor, the brunette continued to consider him vile. The princess asked what Lucky was saying, and her brother reminded her of what she had done to him. The prince said that he wanted the girl to get involved with him even more. Olivia called Lucky a pervert. Her brother ordered her to become as dirty as him, and she couldn't continue to look down on him. Lucky told his beloved sister to come to him, so that together they would become trash, rejected by noble imperial blood. With these words the guy hit his sister on the shoulder. The princess began to shout to her brother to stop and let her go. Kyle said that Lucky was a beast. The prince laughed maliciously. He said that his sister did not expect this, because his brother trained hard to grab the dragon's nipples, so it is not so easy to escape from his grip. Kyle understood that he would not be able to fight the prince, since he was disqualified. The guy understood that it was somehow unmanly to leave her like that. The white-haired woman thought that grabbing her nipples was something scary for her. The young man tried to calm down and look for another way out, but then a stone flew into Lucky's head. The cow called the prince a moron and demanded that the goddess of war be released. The young man realized that the blonde had left him no choice. A lady in a cow costume came out of the bushes and told the king's son that he was a bastard and was discrediting the honor of the imperial family, and she, as a peaceful resident of an Islamic state, would not allow insulting the great goddess of war. The prince admired the cow's plump form. The brother asked Olivia why she was silent about such a beautiful friend, but his sister replied that she did not know her. The brunette turned to the cow. She said that she did not know her and asked her not to interfere in other people's affairs. The blonde told the war goddess that it was okay, even though she couldn't defeat Lucky. The lady in the cow costume said it was up to the knight to handle it. With these words, the cow pulled the hidden Kyle out of the bushes. Then the prince and princess were shocked. After a moment, they clicked incredulously. The guy got angry at this reaction. He said that he saved Olivia, so she could show a little politeness. Then the young man asked the brunette why she looked like a dead fish and asked her to wake up right away. But then Lucky pointed his hand at the young man, calling him a stupid knight. Kyle realized that it was too late. He would not have time to parry. The prince grabs the guy by the throat and says that even then he wanted to kill him, called him incapable of anything and noted that the guy only left his face. So he told him not to think that Olivia would miss him. She smiled at him anyway, Luck. But apparently not enough for him. Lucky lifted him off the ground by the throat and asked what he hoped for. After all, the guy has a lot of cute animals even without his sister. Kyle managed to say that he thought two were enough for him. The prince told him to shut up and added how dare he brag in front of him. Then the king's son asked where his dear dragon was. Lucky also looked around and asked the guy if she wouldn't come to save him. The white-haired girl was sitting very close by in the bushes and thought that she needed to protect her breadwinner. But she was afraid that the prince would grab her nipples. She was scared of this. But the girl still decided to go to help Kyle. Lucky said that it seems that the dragon girl also despises him. A freak who can only hide between the girl's legs like the last trash. The young man said that if he remembered correctly, then the one who was hiding, trembling, behind his mother's skirt was the prince. The guy added that the king's son was the one who dared to take the princess to this deserted place with such a vile deception and tried to take advantage. It was a trash prince. Kyle asked the king's son that he was still trying to seem strong, but this angered Lucky, who asked him to repeat what he was saying. The guy said that good words are not spoken twice and asked the prince if he had heard about this and called him a goat. In his thoughts, Kyle was shocked by what he was doing, although he was already disqualified and had nothing to lose, so it didn't matter. Lucky laughed. He said that since the young man does not speak, then let him remain silent forever. With these words, Olivia's brother began to strangle the young man, who realized that it was all over. Something began to ripple in Kyle's eyes. A hologram message appeared above Lucky's head stating that he was a righteous NPC. But then suddenly his status changed to a disqualified non-player character. The young man was not mistaken. In this game, each character has his own role. Therefore, in case of abnormal behavior, the player will be disqualified. Then Kyle began to realize, this pervert, he definitely went against the original guidelines set by the system. The prince continued to strangle the young man and shout at him to die. The guy realized that if his status had now changed to disqualified, could the king's son harm him? The young man checked, and it worked. He easily slammed Lucky's head into the ground. The prince could only continue to hurl insults at the young man, but Kyle himself continued to beat the king's son's head on the ground. Lucky didn't understand how this was even possible. Suddenly, a disqualified status and a scale with some indicators appeared above the knight's head. These were indicators of purification, but the young man did not know what this meant. The guy looked away from the prince for a while, and wondered what this scale meant. Kyle glanced at the beaten king's son, but then suddenly the number changed. The purification scale began to fill. The young man kicked the prince and the number increased by 1 again. The young man said that it was a cool thing. The more he hit, the higher the number. But the prince begged him not to touch himself. But Kyle said that since this happened, it's not a pity for annoying scum like him to hit a couple dozen times to score several thousand points. The king's son begged the guy to stop beating him. Suddenly Olivia appeared. The girl was holding a sword in her hands. The princess ran up to her brother and stabbed him with a sword. The brunette began to strike the prince with a sword, simultaneously insulting the pervert and wishing him death. Olivia said that how could he possibly have the brains to do such things to a functioning princess, and told him not to expect any mercy. Troy watched in horror at what was happening, and the princess continued to beat her brother and shower him with insults. Kyle said that the brunette did not look like the goddess of war she imagined. The young man grabbed the ladies and invited them not to bother the princess. But Kyle was not allowed to escape. Olivia ordered them to stand. The brunette noted that it was wrong to somehow leave without saying goodbye. Didn't they think so? The princess added that Kyle is still impolite. The young man realized for himself that this girl was somehow frightening. Even after everything, she was not broken. Perhaps that she was the biggest mistake in this game. The blonde shouted to the great goddess so that she would not think that the girl was with them. But the guy told her not to run away. If she were to die, then to die together. the dragon told the young man to think better about how they could escape. And now the ominous princess has already raised her hand over the guy, intending to do something with him. The young man shouted for Olivia not to come near him. There was only horror and fear on his face. But instead of hitting, the brunette gently put her hand on the guy's shoulder. The girl said that, however, despite the past, they saved the princess, because the lady did not think that the young man was such a good person. Olivia said that this all meant that the past misunderstanding had been resolved successfully. But Kyle was even more frightened by her sudden condescension. The brunette said that since she is a great princess, she is not as fierce and uncouth as the crown prince. But Christy and the guy said in their thoughts that Olivia was exactly the same. The girl added that for forgiveness the young man only needs to kiss the toes of the great princess as a sign of devotion. With these words, the princess stretched out her leg in front of the guy, and Kyle knew that everything would not be simple. Olivia was mentally prepared for the guy's negative response. The brunette was waiting for the young man to quickly refuse, because he was destined to die from the moment he saw the princess in rage. But the young man kneels down, takes the princess's foot and kisses her foot. The girl blushes, because she didn't expect this, and the guy continues to kiss her leg. The young man asked Your Highness if this was okay. Olivia screamed that the young man was doing the wrong thing and immediately almost fell. The young man caught the princess and asked Her Highness if she was okay. The guy with a sweet smile on his face said that the princess is such an inconsiderate little fool, and her feet are so tender and smell like roses. The girl told the young man to close his mouth, but Kyle added that her legs were a temptation for any man. The princess did not understand what was happening. The young man said such nasty things, but she wanted to hear them again. The young man said with an even more sugary grin on his face that he really wanted to personally please every millimeter of her body. With these words, the guy squeezed the girl's toes together with his own. The princess was completely embarrassed by all these ambiguous actions of Kyle. Olivia pushes the young man away with all her might and tells him to get out. The princess fell to the ground, called the young man a libertine and asked him to leave. Despite the slap in the face, the guy's plan worked, because the girl lived from an early age in a cave with only one dragon, so she could not resist the attack of such a handsome man. The brunette demanded that Kyle leave and not come into her sight again, but the guy finally said that today he is still incredible. The dragon said that today the stink smells like fragrant fried meat. The cow thought that when she saw her plumpness, Christy would think that she smelled like fat. How unpredictable her taste was. Olivia thought that this wouldn't work. She had to quickly run away from this pervert, otherwise that would be it. The girl thought that she was a noble princess. In the dragon's cave there were no obscenities that exist now. But then the fleeing princess encountered one of her guards. The man said that he had finally found her. The knight added that the girl had left long ago, so they began to worry if something had happened to her and the prince. But then the man noticed a body behind the princess. The guard was about to ask the question whether it was a prince or not, but the brunette covered the man's mouth with her hand. Olivia said it was just huge poop from an animal with diarrhea, and the girl added that this was not the corpse of Prince Lucky at all. The man told the princess that this was indeed the corpse of Prince Lucky, although the knight initially mistook it for the huge excrement of an animal suffering from diarrhea. The girl grabbed the guard by the neck and said that since he knew everything, he should not blame her. The man asked the princess to stop because he felt that he would die. But then another knight noticed all this and screamed in horror. The guard announced through the loudspeaker that Princess Olivia had killed Prince Lucky. Then a man appeared from behind the bushes and heard this news. This guy conveyed the news, but in his own way, he said that Princess Olivia gave Prince Lucky diarrhea. The first knight and the brunette were surprised at what nonsense that guy just said. Another knight sitting on a tree heard these words. He distorted the news even more. The man shouted that Princess Olivia saw Prince Lucky copulating with a man. Each knight who heard the news interpreted it differently, and eventually all the guards headed to the imperial palace to deliver the news. The brunette realized that such a turn of events would be to her advantage. When the news reached the king, he was indignant because Olivia told them to observe 7 days of mourning. The queen looked in the directory to see what the event was, but the guard apologized for saying something stupid, because he is Chinese. The guy said he meant that Olivia was going to kill the queen. A little later, after the news was transmitted to the imperial palace, they began to look for Olivia, dead or alive. There were drawings of her childhood photograph everywhere. The young man asked the princess if it was her in childhood and added dissatisfiedly why people grow up. The cow said that the princess looked so cute in the photo. Christy said someone else said she was making strange noises and she was outraged. The knights said that this decision was made by the king, they had nothing to do with it. The men added that they were not to blame for anything, and if Olivia wants to beat someone, then let your majesty beat him. Kyle said that he was expecting a mortal fight, but in the end he only saw pleas for help, which he considered a shame. The white-haired woman noted that human males, even for their own, were a disappointment. The guy thought that being accused of a crime still led to disqualification. The young man realized that being mercilessly abandoned by his parents would be difficult for even such an unapproachable person as the princess to bear. The young man decided to try to support the girl. He put his hand on Olivia's shoulder and told her not to take everything to heart. Kyle smiled and told the brunette that even though she was being targeted to kill her, let her look at the cute photo her parents chose. It would prove that they still love their daughter. The cow told the guy that if he doesn't know how to speak, then it's better to remain silent. But the princess threw the guy's hand off her shoulder, and wondered why she really looked so helpless in their hearts. The girl with all her might snatches the wanted poster from the knight's hands and says that human stupidity must have a limit. The lady said that the photo was of a small spineless chicken, also of poor quality. This can only be used to attract pathetic old perverts who want to get something for nothing. The princess said that not a single killer pursuing her could fulfill this order. With these words, Olivia launched the torn pieces of the poster into the face of one archer, after which she got so angry and pointed her bow at the brunette. The princess asked the unknown woman. She was not after her. The girl in the cloak was silent. Her face was not visible. Olivia asked a question from an unknown person, perhaps an old pervert. But then suddenly 3 red rays flashed. The girl pointed 3 arrows at the princess at once. Olivia considered her crazy. The brunette didn't understand why she should try so hard for 10 gold pieces. A lady in a cow costume looked at the unknown woman. She noticed that the girl had a bow made of crocodile bone and arrows made of porcupine thorns. The cow recognized her as the same lady. The guy asked if they knew each other. The blonde replied that yes, and she should have known sooner. These human fangs show countless retributions in blood, and the earrings are made of unquenchable red flame, filled with the spirit of resentment. Even in the gray robe of despair, her gray-purple eyes, like fatal stars that will never fall, speak tirelessly. That the girl belongs to a clan of hunters who have made countless nobles cry. The heiress of this clan, the only first-class assassin who wears the teeth of the nobles he killed as a trophy. It was boar rider Alana. Everyone around thought that she had a nickname for herself. The guy thought, if the girl is really as dangerous as the cow says, then they won't escape alive. Above the girl there was a hologram indicating that she was a legitimate non-player character. But then Kyle noticed that Christy was no longer around. The white-haired girl went to Alana to say hello. The dragon lifted the hem of the rider's dress to look at the pig. Then the girl looked up her skirt. Christy asked Alana what she was holding on to. The young man understood what the white-haired woman was getting at. The knight standing nearby wondered if the girl was really a killer, because only an idiot would ride something like that. Other men said that even though she was generally trying to maintain her self-esteem, she had probably already beaten off her entire ass. Everyone around said that Alana was pretending to be cool, but what was under that robe? Was there really something vulgar there? What a shame. But then Kyle intervened. He ordered to stop, because you can't address the future head of the clan like that. The guy added that it was rude to suddenly be interested in the chastity of the ass of this defenseless killer girl. The young man said that he was ready to personally check the innocence of this person right now. The young man lifted the hem of Alana's dress and said that everything was fine, healthy and smooth. Where was the shame? But the guy couldn't understand. The young man lowered his dress and went to the girls. The princess asked to speak quickly. Olivia asked the guy if she was really incomparable there too. Kyle said he thought the cow was just lying, but the blonde tried to argue that her eyesight had never failed her. But the young man said that Alana definitely has something that contradicts the title of a first-class killer. The guy said they were panties with cute little bunnies on them. The pig rider blushed deeply. The young man and Christy laughed hard. But suddenly Alana shot the guy in the ass with a bow. The assassin's arrow hit the right spot. The young man realized that his naivety had only now opened his eyes. This was the secret technique of the Alana clan, the curse of dirty blood. The girl became seriously angry from embarrassment. Olivia said the case took a new turn. The princess said that this girl appeared all white and fluffy. The brunette added that this thing that Sir Knight hit in the ass looks scary. This all made Olivia flare up, so the brunette pulled out her gun again. The young man wondered where the princess got the gun from, but the cow hit him on the head for it. The blonde noted it was amazing. Such a thick thing, how is it possible? Olivia told the girl to attack, let them fight face to face. The brunette added that they would see which of them is the tough woman, and the guy mentioned that it would be better to let them argue which of them is softer. Alana only said one word the entire time, and it was insane. The girl with blue hair jumped up from her hog. The boar rider rose high above the ground. The knights were amazed that the girl jumped very high. There were indeed rabbits there. Alana cast a spell, the words of which were that the evening wind, cold, would blow on her but to weaken the enemy. The guards noted the shamefulness of such words and blushed. The girl called for a lightning strike. The hog rider cast a triple blast spell. At the same moment, she shot her magic arrow from her bow, which flew at full speed towards the princess's cannon. The cow said that it was bad, because this was a spell that would undermine everything. In addition, Alana's boar was flying straight towards them as fast as she could. Olivia didn't know what to do. Kyle activates the Raging Flames ability, and then a raised wall of fire appears in front of them, causing the boar to barely have time to slow down in front of it. Suddenly, the blue-haired girl's clothes began to burn. Alana was left with almost nothing, only in her underwear. The writer said that this is pure fire magic in its highest performance. The dragon girl told the young man that she now feels sorry for the guy. The white-haired girl explained that the young man's ass looked like it had been chewed by hyenas, and Kyle asked that the girl was only staring at his ass. Was it more spectacular than a wall of fire? The princess told the knight that he had done well. The brunette noted that even the shadow of the killer could not be seen. 2 against 1. Olivia said that no matter how powerful the rabbit was, she was no match for her. The young man noted that this was too much. Alana shouted at the princess to shut her mouth. The killer commanded the boar to attack, and like a porcupine, it began to shoot quills from its fur. Then the games flew in one direction, concentrating their position on the hand of a girl with blue hair. After which the games gathered and formed a whip, with which the rabbit was going to kill her enemies. The princess told Alana not to put on airs and put a lot of bombs in the cannon. The young man tried to stop Olivia, but she was not going to stop. She said that such people are even worse than trash lucky. The guy tried to tell the brunette that her status was no longer green, but the princess did not listen to the young man and fired shells from the cannon. Instead of a shock wave of fire, some kind of golden viscous consistency flew out of the cannon. This liquid fell on Alana instead of the planned bomb attack. Cow, Christy and Kyle looked with disdain at the attacked hog rider. The girl was covered in this nasty substance from head to toe. Olivia wondered how this happened. The dragon lady suggested that the cannon had diarrhea. Pushka apologized to the owner and said that everything inside was broken. The princess kicked the useless weapon with all her might. Olivia believed that the gun was just diarrhea and added that it was nothing unusual. It could happen to anyone. But at that moment the angry rabbit rose from the ground. The brunette said that now Kyle is entering into a fight with her. The guy was indignant that the girl had already admitted defeat. But Olivia said that is it strange to lay down your arms when you can no longer fight. But added that one way or another let the young man start fighting. The guy replied that wasn't it just that the princess was brave. She replied that she believed that she would win, because she is brave. Kyle told the brunette that he was too lazy to argue with her. The guy added that the killer came for the princess anyway, even if she sorted it out on her own. The young man did not want to be beaten, so he decided to hide as quickly as possible. Olivia was angry that the young man was about to run away. She said in a sweet voice that weren't they partners who had just fought shoulder to shoulder. The girl hugged the guy's hand and asked if he wanted to run away. Olivia thought that if they were to die, it would be together. The young man laughed and said that this matter had nothing to do with him. The cow noted that this was wrong. The girl began to argue that this fight was pointless. The young man confirmed that it was true. Only evil and wounds, so the princess decided to sneak away with them. But then Alana called them, let them know about their presence. The pig rider asked if they had played enough. At the same moment, Kyle activates the powder core and throws it away from him. A smoke screen forms around everyone. The guy says what other jokes. When there is such a girl opposite, there is definitely no opportunity to escape. Suddenly, a silhouette appeared in front of the young man.